rule for your 2 chord might be, okay, play a pentatonic from the root of my 2 up a whole step, and I can play my flat 9 pentatonic, and that will yield me that very Dorian sound. From my 5, the rule would be I'm going to play a minor pentatonic from the flat third of my root. So my root is G in this case. I'm playing it from my flat third, sharp 9 in other terms, right? And I can play my flat 9 pentatonic from the flat third. And then my 1, I'm going to play my flat 9 minor pentatonic scale from the major 7 of my root. Hey, welcome back everybody. Okay, so in today's video, I wanted to talk more about triad pairs. This is something I've been working on. So today's triad pair is going to be 2 minor triads a whole step apart. So that can be found diatonically within the major scale. So any concept I'm working on, I always start it in C major just because it's, I don't know, easy. It's home base, right, for most of us. So that can be found in C major using the triads of D minor, oops, can't see my hand, D minor and E minor. All right, that would be the 2nd and the 3rd scale degree of the C major scale. So now starting out, usually when we learn triad pairs, both inversions will be right next to each other. So like this is a 5-1-3 inversion, and that's how I normally think of them, not like 2nd inversion. I like to think low to high in terms of the pitch of the note, like its function within its triad. So this is the 5th of my D, this is my root of my D minor, and that's my flat third. So 5-1 flat 3 is how I think of that. Now if I start there, the next one up in pitch will be my E minor, which is the same inversion, the same shape, 5-1 flat 3. Moving forward, moving up the neck, I have root position triad, so 1 flat 3 5. That's my D minor here at my ring fingers on the 7th fret. Same thing up here on the 9th fret, same shape. So far we have next would be, this is flat 3 5 1 triad inversions where my root is on the top note. And if I kept going, now here I'm an octave higher. So it's a great way to practice triad pairs at first, right? Is just going from low to high on the neck and playing every inversion next in order. And so playing triads, if you practice triads, there's 6 different ways, 6 different permutations you could practice them. So we have low to high, and then practice, when you practice, I might not do every one of them like this, but go up and down the full range of the neck per string set. So that's low to high. I have other permutations, which would be low, high, middle. And then there's the 2 that start on the middle note. So I'm going middle, high, low. Middle, low, high. What did I do last time? Yeah, middle, low, high. And then the one starting on the top note, so high to low. And then high, low, middle. I do have a little packet I'm working on that is just, if anyone's interested in this, but it's just all the different ways you can practice triads. Now, if you start adding a 4th note for the triads, you know, like low to high, but then going back to the middle note. So that would be. Yeah, that's just triad pairs diatonically within a scale. So how would you use that, right? Like what everyone talks about triad pairs, and it seems like this really cool concept, but it's hard sometimes to know where to use them. So the two I'm practicing would fit really nicely over a D minor chord in that. Say I'm in the key of maybe doing a 2-5-1 in the key of C. Here, I'll hold the chord for you. So we're playing the D minor triad, which is the 1 flat through 5 of that, you know, D chord, and then also an E minor triad, which would be the 9, the 11, and the major 13 or the major 6, the Dorian note, right? The cool note. So that's the context I would use this triad pair, just the most diatonically, right? Now, if you watched the video I posted the other day talking about playing pentatonics as a triad pair by adding one note to a pentatonic scale, we can do the same thing with minor triads a whole step apart. So in this case, I have these D minor and E minor triads. That is essentially the exact same thing as an E minor pentatonic scale with that added flat 9. And I'm talking about flat 9 in relation to my E minor. So up here, if I play this E minor pentatonic scale at the 12th fret, the regular box shape, right? The one we all know and love, right? And I just add that note F to it. I am in essence playing all 6 notes of those 2 triads. So I could play scale runs and hide those triads, right? Playing this, it's very obvious what I'm doing, right? Like you can hear the 2 triads back and forth. So if I, again, have that, not a bad sound, right? I'm not hating, I think it sounds awesome. But I've been looking for ways to add them more naturally, and me personally, and I think a lot of guitar players out there would agree, the minor pentatonic scale is like, you know, that's like safe for us, home base, right? It's our bread and butter, right? So I always look for stuff that I can connect to that I know really, really well, and so this concept of triad pairs and pentatonics has been really, really eye-opening. So instead of playing them up the neck like that, I like playing them in position and just adding that one tone makes it like, it completely changes it, I think. Oops, I think I added something extra I shouldn't have. And because it's a 6-note scale, like you can do kind of straight up scale runs, and it again hides the fact that you're playing either a pentatonic scale or just the scale. Because you're adding some interesting skips in there just by playing what, you know, playing it 1 to 10 or whatever, you know, A to Z, I mean. Yeah, 6-note scales. Very, very cool. So now, we're not always playing over a static chord where I'm using a freeze pedal, right, to just hold that chord. That's not always the case. So in jazz, normally we're playing a 2-5-1, right? So in keeping our theme in C, a 2 would be that D minor chord, and then our 5, we're gonna play an altered 5, a 5-7 flat 9, sharp 9, flat 5, sharp 5. We're using the altered scale for this one, at least I am. I like that sound quite a bit, maybe too much, but now we can superimpose another very cool pentatonic scale with that added flat 9 of the pentatonic, right? not of the chord necessarily, but the added flat 9 of my pentatonic scale to that. So one day I'll maybe make a video based on just how to use regular pentatonic scales in a jazz context, but for today we're talking triad pairs and pentatonics. So this 5, I can play a B flat minor pentatonic scale, so that G7 chord, and a B flat yields me these tones. So my sharp 9, my flat 5, my sharp 5, my flat 7, and my flat 9, right? Which I think sometimes just by itself sounds awesome. And you know, to play these pentatonics, I can't play all my bluesy rock stuff. Maybe you can, I don't know, maybe it sounds cool. But I try to play more like angular when I'm using pentatonics, so like to, you know, play more like a jazz player would. Now adding that flat 9 of my B flat scale, my B flat minor pentatonic scale, its flat 9 would be the note B natural, which works really wonderfully for a G7 chord because that's the 3rd. And I think it kind of helps to like add a little bit of stability to that scale. So here's that chord again. You know, you could land on that note in this one and the other chord too, but instead of playing all, you know, besides that F note, every other note is some altered tone, like a chord tone extension that it can be a little like, unless you throw in a little more stable chord tones, it's not as easy to hear it, you know. At least not for me. Yeah, so that's that chord. So we have D minor playing to G7. The 1, so that was 2 to 5. The 1 would be our C major 7, sharp 11. So that scale, what I would use is a B pentatonic, which gives me the notes my major 7, my 9, my 3rd, my sharp 11, and my 13th. That's just the regular minor pentatonic, which again by itself sounds sick. Very, very cool. And that flat 9 of that B minor pentatonic scale ends up being the root, which again is a stabilizing force. So here's my 2 to 5 to my 1. Very cool modern sound, and conceptually I think not that hard, right? So through any of those you can kind of create a rule, you know, to like help you see that in other contexts, not just C, right? So like the rule for your 2 chord might be, okay, play a pentatonic from the root of my 2 up a whole step, and I can play my flat 9 pentatonic, and that will yield me that very Dorian sound. From my 5, the rule would be I'm going to play a minor pentatonic from the flat 3rd of my root. So my root is G in this case. I'm playing it from my flat 3rd, sharp 9 in other terms, right? And I can play my flat 9 pentatonic from the flat 3rd. And then my 1, I'm going to play my flat 9 minor pentatonic scale from the major 7 of my root. 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 5, 1, 2, 5. check that out. Triad pairs as pentatonics with an added note. Very cool.